Yes, you have to build with a serious intent. But if you're not having fun, you're kind of just going to go insane slowly but surely because you're in an industry that's complete, like, I don't know, just like insane in some sense where 90% of it's focused on not building. So if you're trying to build in that world, you kind of almost have to laugh at a bunch of stuff sometimes and not take yourself too serious, not take everything else too serious, or else you're just going to like go cry in the corner forever.
Let's talk about Tōdai. I'm excited to hear about it, and you've obviously had it out now for a little while. But so for context, right, Tōdai, tell me if I'm wrong, described as the self-sovereign social network, right? One network, no emails, no passwords, no tomorrows,
100%.
only to only Tōdai. And I think really, I'd love to hear kind of first off like what the goal was behind that, and then we'll take another little deep dive in terms of like how the idea of Tōdai and the self-sovereign social network actually came to be.
Gotcha. Yeah. So basically, you said it 100% correct. It is a self sovereign social network, but it is a self sovereign social network. Like you said, the goal was to enable people to log onto a network, say what they want, and maybe send a minimal amount of payments, transactions, and not have to ask total permission. I kind of got, annoyed, and I didn't really even notice this until entering into crypto or the Web3 world, where everything we do is permission based. And I just wanted to move into something that was permissionless, like, just let me build something, let me send something. And for the most part, let me say what I would like to say without an algorithm controlling, should this be reached to so many people or should this be shadow banned? So generally speaking, Todai, I think, gives you more because we've done less. We haven't tried to make it into this everything app. We haven't tried to, I feel like that's the original point of even getting into crypto, peer-to-peer transactions. And then 10 years later, we're still not developing on that front. And so I felt like specifically for the ArcBlock community too, we really didn't have a central meeting spot that was also decentralized, that utilized, you could say, the DID wallets, that utilized some kind of ArcBlock infrastructure. Every single time that, the ArcBlock community was gathering, we were gathering on Discord, gathering on Telegram, gathering on X. So I was like, we need to get something out here, almost like, because it was on my mind for a while, a central hub of the discussion kit. So what if we had like a discussion kit where everybody could, make a post in their own manner and it show up in the same place? And I mean, we're still trying to add into the future more features. Like I'm talking to Vinny, we're going to try to add a gallery. So NFTs owned to a certain wallet, or a certain address that you like created. Like if you sent the NFT to that address, say, or maybe we could just do it, according to the identity, but you'll be able to see people's NFTs. And then, like I said, we still want to do the payment kit stuff in time. But for the most part, it was just like, let's give people an opportunity to say what they want and not restrict them and just see what happens also. And it's kind of cool to see like a few Chinese accounts, like they'll post some Chinese stuff and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but I was like, should we Google, like, should we add like a translate button? And I think in time we will, like, we'll probably leverage ArcBlock's like translator feature or something. And I thank God that, Vinny, he finished the back end and then he found just like a pretty cool cosmetic wrap and then tweaked it to our liking. And then boom, we sent it out here. Shout out Glowa for the amazing like lighthouse artwork. And to be honest, I guess that sums up Todai. It's a lighthouse in the darkness.
So tell me this, there was a lot packed in that. I want to take one step back and just in terms of like the challenges, right? So building in a decentralized way, because one is like, hey, we're building something that's uniquely different that compared to more traditional social platforms like an X or a Facebook. Right? It's decentralized. I've got control, I can transact. For you guys, right? How did you guys overcome maybe some of the design challenges attached to that, right? In terms of making it feel like a cohesive experience while maintaining the decentralized nature of identity.
So really, we took a shortcut and just used ArcBlock. So we already knew we're not going to make our own identity solution, but we already knew the DID wallet provided everything we needed, which was it's not just a wallet, it is an identity attached to a wallet. And so what we needed is a means, in truth, also, um, the biggest hurdles we faced, ArcBlock already tackled. So we needed a means by which to have an identity, but when you logged in, a unique DID address was also created. And so you don't really see that anywhere else. And that was our way in ensuring that when you made an account, that was like your genetic code. That was your blue check mark, your verification. Because when you signed in, this address didn't exist prior. So trying to figure out how to enable, somebody to sign in without a username or password, and then, an email or anything in that sense, but make sure that when people are signing in, they're not just like having to make, stupid usernames and like, instead of just Wassel, it's Wassel X 12345 because there's already 100 other people that took that name. So we wanted to just tackle simple things that even growing up in the gaming world, you never got. Like I've never been able to get on a gaming network and just use my name because somebody else already has it. So those little hurdles we were able to tackle just because the ArcBlock wallet already creates the opportunity to do that. And then I would say the difficulty, even though I'm not really the developer, the way we just kept going back and forth was Vinny had to learn a lot. So Vinny here recently was just researching more, discovering some more stuff. Like at first he didn't know how to do the tip function, but I kept drilling him on it. Like I really would hope you're able to get this figured out because I know he could if he really put his mind to it. And then boom, he figured it out. And even Vinny said, like ArcBlock to some extent, when you're coming to it from a pure ETH, like an ETH perspective, it seems a little confusing at first. But then once your mind is really in the ArcBlock world, things just start lining up and you're like, oh, this makes more sense and that makes more sense. So it's just kind of standing on the shoulders of giants. We had a clear vision, and the vision was from a user perspective. I'm not a developer, I'm a user, and I know what I want. I want to be able to log in seamlessly. I want to be able to post something. And we kept the character count to just 300. We didn't really have to do anything. So shout out the ArcBlock team.
Shout out to ArcBlock. What are some of the features in the ecosystem that you guys are using? So you mentioned like decentralized identity, um, tip function, like payment kit, for example.
Mhm.
Are you able to describe or share a couple of those things? Not giving away your secret sauce,
No,
of
yeah,
course.
definitely. So basically, you kind of the tip function is say correlated from the payment kit, or I don't know exactly. I sent Vinny literally a payment kit like a doc, and I was like, read this, you'll understand it better than me. I hope you're able to figure out how to get the custom aspect of it, and he clearly did. So that's how we're doing the tips. The right now the storage solution is the byte storage, so it's like in part with IPFS. But me and Vinny were already talking about it because to some extent, while it works fine, it doesn't work 100% all the time fine. And so we were even thinking like, at first Vinny, because of some client works, he was like, let's just go AWS. And then I was like, let's just go did spaces. Because if anything, I don't really want to worry about these people's data. Like whenever they make a post, I want them to just know that it went back to their storage solution or their server, and we don't have anything to do with it. So that's I would say the real last thing we're needing to do to make Tōdai, in my mind, totally decentralized or totally, user owned, or self-sovereign, in the sense we have the identity part down. It's just now finalizing the storage part. There's explore page. So to just summarize, there's the news feed. So the news feed is everything that somebody's posted or what everyone's posted that goes back one day. And only on the news feed is the people you follow. So if you don't follow anybody, you won't see them on the news feed. And that's also where you can make a post. The Explorer tab allows you to see everybody. So even the people you don't follow, and that only goes back one day. But the profiles for people, if you're curious, to like why it goes back farther, we thought, well, why don't we let them go back 6 days? So the actual main feeds only go back a day, but profile accounts go back like 6 days, I believe, just to give people more insight to like what are these people actually posting. And then the other kind of cool thing that I think is really neat because it was Vinny's first blocklet. There's a link tree in every user account. Like so, back in the day, Vinny made a blocklet link tree, and I even remember Robert talking about it. He was like, "We've just obsoleted Linktree with one blocklet," and nothing ever really came of it. But I always loved the idea of having a built-in Linktree instead of having a bio and like 10 different links in the bio, or your Linktree is in your bio.
Amazing. What type of advice would you give to yourself or to Vinny or to developers who are getting started on a project? You
Right now, accelerate. Just do it. Believe in yourself, and just if anything, it really is kind of like what Zuckerberg said. Funny enough, like I don't know how to build a dam. I don't know how to do this. Like we didn't know how to do any of it. We just set our minds to it, and then little by little, it came about. And what I've noticed is if you're taking one step every day, even if it's a minimal step, over time, that's a lot of that's a lot of motion. And compared to the person who never took a step at all, they're gonna look at you and say, "How'd you get that far?" And you're gonna say, to your perspective, it looks like I sprinted here, it looks like I cheated or I jumped or did something. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of like unknowns. And I would say the best like just jump into the abyss. Nobody even knows what they're doing anyways. They're just making it up. And a part of I've noticed like getting something done is almost believing um totally in the dream no matter how insane it is. And maybe it doesn't turn out exactly like you were thinking, but as long as you keep drilling down on it, it actually turns out better than what you were thinking. And so that's just my advice. Build it, throw it into the ocean, and just keep like, if anything, throw everything overboard. Like either you're going to survive on this thing or you're not, and you'll survive.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. I agree with you. So you talked a bit about the experience, right? You talked about the feed. You talked about the profile page, using decentralization. What kind of strategies are you guys using to drive adoption and build the community?
So right now, the only strategy we had was like a strategy I picked up from, the PayPal guys. We don't have 10 million to give away. But I was like, look, you get on Tōdai, you make a post, and I'm going to pick one post a day and give you 100 ABT. Just yesterday, I was like, screw it. I had some feeling that we were about to pump. I just sent 1,000 ABT to 10 people. I was like, here's 100, here's 100. And I was like, we're going galactic. And thank God the next morning we just went to the moon, or we had our little rocket ship. So I can see that, some of them took that excitement, posted it on X, and it's just kind of like that. It's creating a fun experience where it's like, whoa, like I'm just showing up and posting, and I'm getting like tips. Like I even sent one guy 100 ABT, and I noticed like as time went on, he kept tipping me back like 0.01 ABT. And so that's something I might say is on posts, 0.1 ABT is the default. And then on profiles, the tip is 1 ABT. And so one thing I was shocked by is like I'm giving away the ABT, but I never even expected to get some back. And that's when I realized like this is something kind of cool and special where people don't really need to see how many views you had or how many likes. If anything, adding likes, because somebody even asked this, why are there no likes? Why are there no viewer counts? It's because when you add those features, when you add those, metrics, it forces people to imitate other people. And, human beings are very imitative, creativity and uniqueness and all this other stuff. So it's just like, look, we're going to take away all of that bull crap because you don't even need to know it. It doesn't help you knowing if you've seen 100,000 or if 100,000 people saw your post or one person saw your post. What matters is it creating value? Are you gaining kind of value? Because even X, like in truth, everyone is trying to get views. Why? Because they're trying to get money. They're trying to get paid. So let's just skip the view crap. Let's skip all the likes and just send people like money. Like I like that post. Here's a tip. And if Donald Trump passes no tip, what is it, tax? Like then boom,
Tax on
no
tips.
tax on tips, no tax on ABT tips. We're creating the PayPal mafia and they don't know it. We're just giving people money and then ABT is going to run to the moon. And hopefully these people, Jason Brown, all these other guys go build something.
Yeah, that's right. Who do you see as your competitor right now?
Compa-
Have a competitor?
we do have a competitor and it's literally Elon. It's X, and it's Meta. We want to choose the biggest competitors we can, which forces us to rise to their greatness and then hopefully overpower them or overtake them. So I would say in real, you could also maybe say Farcaster or whatnot. Like there's a few other competitors in the Web3 space that offers something similar to what we're doing, which is like a decentralized network. But even Farcaster, like Farcaster just said, let's make X exactly like X, or let's make a copy of X and bring it over here. And it's like, while Todai might not look totally as great as X can be, I would just point out that, Todai's $7,000 built by one guy and X is $44 billion and they have a team of who knows how many people. Even though he fired like 80% of the staff, they still got more staff than us. So I think in the fullness of time, our leanness and then my kind of just like just kind of throwing out ideas to Vinny. Like as long as I keep sending Vinny capital and a good idea, he's gonna add it. He's gonna add it. And we don't have to talk to the board. Hey, is this gonna be great for users? No, there is no board. So I think sooner or later they're gonna slow down and then we're just gonna keep speeding up. And hopefully, maybe they buy us out or something, but I don't know if that will happen. Um, And but yeah, those are our competitors. And Atlas on the other front, which is the next network we're building, which I think is going to be 10 times cooler than Todai, which we have to get into.
Yeah. Since you gave me a little hint, what is Atlas?
So Atlas, we're taking the experience we learned from building Todai, and we're going to build a crime network. So instead of the timeline being like, like how you even see on Todai, just like a new or on X, the timeline's going to be a map of the United States. And what you're going to see like drop in over time is real-time data on like crimes and murders, whatever it be. Vinny already like was able to scrap together a bunch of open source FBI data, and then what we're going to do is feed that to people to see. And then instead of them making a post, they're going to leave a mark on the map. And the mark is going to almost, you could say, be correlated to a real map, that being the United States. And they can leave information in there. And so the goal is to basically enable people to become their own detectives, their own kind of like Sherlock Holmes. And then I don't know if you know of Death Note, but really the concept is where we're trying to bring justice to the world. And instead of the CIA doing it, we're going to be at the CIN. So we're going to be a civil intelligence network. And so it's just going to be like, citizens around America, instead of taking all our time and energy, spending it on Meta, looking at bullcrap, why don't you take some of that effort, some of that attention span, and look at some of these crimes? Maybe you can put together a pattern that, the FBI hasn't noticed. Maybe you could put together a lead for the police. And it's going to be so even the police can look at it and be like, hey, this thing just happened over here. Somebody took a video and noticed this over here. Maybe those things are connected. So that's what I'm really excited for Atlas, because Vinny, he even got further on it than he expected. He was like, yo, this is actually working better than what I thought. And so that's going to be a blocklet too. It will be you sign in with your DID wallet, but we want to also add to where you can sign in with your Gmail and so forth, because we want to just make this one open to everybody. And we're hoping, while Tōdai is for the ArcBlock community and, for the ArcBlock community to communicate and do whatever they want, send peer-to-peer money, I'm hoping Atlas can be a more powerful application that shines like the utility of DID markers and, blocklets and all this other stuff in a way that people aren't really thinking or haven't. And to some extent, Atlas is like our open source version of Palantir.
So going back to Todai, and Atlas sounds amazing. I'm looking for to see, as far as Todai and even really for Atlas, same question, right? In terms of success beyond numbers, what are you guys going to use to measure success? Those types of applications you guys are building.
So the way we're going to measure success is kind of how everyone does. Hopefully our user count grows more and more. But the ultimate measure of success is going to be, even though I don't care what, I forget his name, I don't even know his name, but there's a leading understanding right now that crime is at an all-time low, or kinetic crime is at an all-time low. But people don't realize potential crime is at an all-time high. The potential for things to go completely chaotic because of, the technology and the weapons we have today counteracts this feeling of, hey, like, maybe things are getting better. No, things aren't actually getting better. And very soon we might see things get way worse. So to some extent, the way I hope to measure it into the future, our success, is that either Tōdai becomes I would say for Tōdai, it becomes a place or it becomes a refuge for people who are tired of being restricted on what they can say. But then on top of that, they're tired of being restricted in how they send their money. Simple as that. That's why I came to crypto. I don't want people controlling how I spend it, how I send it, and why I'm using it. As long as I'm not doing anything illegal, you shouldn't need to know about it. It's like an infringement on my rights. Get out of here. So on top of that, though, Atlas, I just feel like I want to bring people's attention back to the real world also. So the way you could say measuring success is we're using technology, but how is this benefiting the real world? Like, are we stopping crimes? And I mean totally transparent. I liked how somebody posted the other day, like 20 years ago, the yellow books had everybody's phone number and address in it, but nobody was afraid. So we print the yellow books now. It's not to say we don't. I'm sure we still do. It's because we don't feel safer. And so I hope that Atlas allows people to use, the same tools that Meta is giving us to brain rot us, to make their own local town safer, their own community safer, and then the country safer overall. Like it blows my mind how many people wake up every day and say like I posted on Insta or I posted like your post is in like la la land. It doesn't exist. And so to some extent the way we're going to measure success, simple as that, is bringing more users, obviously. But I guess as simple as that, little by little, hopefully, we don't like, or little by little, citizens generally and gradually feel safer, not because of the government, but because of themselves, because of other citizens, and because of the tools that they have. And like, I almost feel like it's not even about the money right now. It's not even about the user count because we're almost at a paradigm shift and a turning point where, I mean, in 10 years, if things don't play out correctly right, who's going to even want the dollar anymore? Like just last year, they're like, there's no recession in sight. This year, they're like, maybe there's a recession. I don't need them to tell me that there's a Great Depression on the horizon. Obviously, there is. And so, with that being said, I'm like, the way we're going to measure success is in 10 years, more people trust us than they trust the government. That's how we're going to measure.
How do you I'm really curious for like all the builders out there, and obviously you've learned a lot during this process of launching Todai and thinking about Atlas. Like, what's you know a personal anecdote right from the development process that you'd say is a key lesson that you've learned that you would want for others to know or to share to help them be better at building as well?
A key lesson I would in some sense, I would say if you wanna build something great, definitely don't look in the industry don't look into the industry for, like, clues on certain things. You wanna look at in the industry for, like, almost ideas, but not what you should build. Like, if you're looking in the DeFi space, all you're gonna find is DeFi stuff to build, and you're gonna be consumed like, "Oh, maybe I should build a DeFi protocol." Basically, go read some books. Go read about history. Go read the past. Go like read about philosophy. Get out of like your time frame. Even get out of your age. I like this or this one quote where it's like, if you want a new idea, read older books. If anything, I've noticed like the reason I'm even having the ideas I have about Atlas and Todai is because I'm not a tech guy. Now we do. Almost anything can be done. It's not to say the laws of physics don't exist. They do exist. So keep whatever you want to do within those means, within those bounds. But ultimately, um, do not look for the next big thing in the industry you're trying to create it in. The next big thing is out there. Look at the greatest people in history. Take inspiration from them, and then figure out what you could learn from them, glean from them, and try to do something in your age. Like, I like being inspired by the greats of the past. They inspire me. Jesus, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, even though these guys maybe aren't all on the same page, but Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Marcus Aurelius, and then the apostles, Paul, Peter, like these guys are remembered for a reason because they're incredible men. They did things that in their day, nobody said you could. And they accomplished it. And 2,000 years later, literally everyone's naming their kids after their names, So um, don't underestimate the underdog, too. Just, it's like if you're the little guy, you have the biggest potential and you'll be surprised what happens.
Some well, Wasil, congrats on Todai. Looking forward to Atlas and see what comes next. And as always, can't wait to talk again.
100%. Thank you for having me, Matt. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Shout out to the ArcBlock community. Shout out to everybody using Tōdai. Shout out to the Decentral Bros for building it. Shout out Vinny. He's the GOAT. He's just incredible. And they're just all great friends, too. I'm thankful to God for being a part of this team, being a part of this community. I just heard an incredible quote from somebody. Everything's about to change. So I'll leave it at that.